Welcome, everyone. This is once again your host, Shailesh, bringing you live Real Connections, a series that we started a few years ago. And we all have always have some amazing speakers. So today, to uncover the life journey of with this Real Connections episode, we have today a real person, a real wisdom, a real experience that she's going to share with us. But before I go to introduce, it's very hard for me to introduce her because whether it's academic, whether it is creativity, and whether it's public area that she has achieved, some of the achievements that she has done in her career is absolutely amazing. But we are going to uncover all of that in this topic of Real Connections, a life journey of Priya Satya. So welcome, Priya, to this beautiful, wonderful show of us that we started. As I said, Real Connections is all about real people talking real things, means real experiences. And this is where we uncover some of the journeys which we envisage that it will help to some of the people that are listening. So to all the listeners, I welcome Priya Satya, and all the way from India. But don't be misled that she's Indian or she's this or she's a human, a real human, because she has traveled across internationally, nationally, and you name it. So Priya is the winner of, I will give a short introduction to start with. Priya is the winner of Mrs. India Universe 2021, Universal, but she is also Mrs. South Central Asia 2022. The list goes on. Mrs. Universe Leadership Presence, and the list goes on, as I said. But she is one of the thing is I discovered and uncovered was she is a classical dancer. That means she is a creative, a student of a choreographer famous in Bollywood that we call in the film area, which is Shamak Davar's Dance Academy. She has been, and she's also lived in Melbourne. She's also lived in Canada. She's a citizen of Australia, and also she was a citizen of or a resident of Canada. So these are the some of the beautiful journey that she has traveled location wise. But we are going to uncover not the location journey. We're going to uncover the mind of a human. How did she did this? What really triggered to do all of this traveling through the mind and achieving so many things. So Priya, this is amazing and thank you so much for doing this. But welcome once again to this show. We're going to get straight into it, which is your life journey. So I want to ask first, to introduce yourself a little bit about, tell me something about you so that our listeners can understand what Priya is all about, made up of. Let's do that. Tell us
Uh,
something.
at the outset, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, Shailesh, and thank you so much for having me here. Uh, Literally privileged. And I do hope that insights into my life journey brings in some wisdom and some experience and some hope and emotional well-being, as you rightly mentioned, to many others.
Yeah.
So, just to give you a very small briefing about my academics, I'm a double bachelor's, double master's in applied statistics. The
Mhm.
final course, the program was done in Australia. I'm a student of MS Applied Statistics from Australia, post which, like you already introduced, we eventually got our citizenship, stayed in Melbourne for about 7 years, 2 years in Canada, got back.
Mhm.
I have been married. I will be married for 20 years now, coming
Mhm.
next year.
You
Have
don't look
11 years
like.
daughter. Yes. So when I do uncover my,
Yeah.
journey, you know how it's 2 decades,
Yes.
which seem to have
Absolutely.
passed
Wow.
very quickly, to be honest. I mean, it's really hard to find that out.
Yeah.
Um, and yes, so just talking about my life journey in general, belong to a very humble upbringing.
Mhm.
Born in Bhopal, since my Nanu and Nani stayed there. But
Mhm.
I am a Karnataka. I'm from Karnataka. I'm a Kannadiga and
Yes.
based out of Bangalore. So brought up in Bangalore. Having said that, my father always had a transferable job. So he was the
Mhm.
general manager and CEO of various big companies. So
Big
was
company.
always posted in different places. And I
Wow.
think a lot of my upbringing and my experiences are to do with that experience.
Right.
Although the whole thing was pretty tedious because
Hmm.
I've changed 14 schools in 10 grades.
Right.
I've never stuck to one place. I've always made new friends, new neighbors,
Mm.
new environments, so to speak. So family was everything because they were by my side all the
Mm.
time. But yes, a lot of my personality, I think, comes out of that risk taking that my dad had.
Right.
He always took opportunities by his stride, and I think I've followed him as well. So, that's how it's coming.
Fantastic. Yeah. So I think should we sum up in saying that you had inverted the genes of your dad or the family that we say to take such decisions at every level of your career or every level of your journey that really naturally comes to you, I guess.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. So we're going to go back a little bit to start with your journey. What was Priya like as a child? Tell me something about that. What is, every child has got different, what they call it, expressions and different way of dealing when it comes to family surroundings and environment. Also pointing out and identifying things. But what is Priya made up of? Tell me something about, let's go back to the memory lane of whenever you remember when you were a child or whatever
Yes.
stage you were, tell me something about that, Priya.
So I was with a family, majorly a nuclear family with my parents.
Uh-huh.
My brother is 7 years younger. So
Right.
for the first 7 years of my life was a
Mhm.
single child kind of.
Okay.
And my grandparents always visited us. So when you say, I start from where my memory starts with, I
Yes.
would actually, yeah, I have memories because I lost my grandparents pretty quick. These
Right.
are my paternal grandparents. I was 5 when my granddad passed away and 8 when my grandmother passed away. But
Mm.
then till date, I still remember them completely. That was the influence they've had on my life, to be honest.
Right.
uh, Never judged me, even as a child. You always see the older generation say, we are older, respect
Mm.
us, do this, do that. But I came from an upbringing where they gave me complete freedom, even when I was a child.
Mhm.
My voice was heard.
Mm.
Maybe super silly, as a child, hardly you have anything to say, but I was always valued. My grandmother put me to sleep every single night in the bed by talking about something mythological,
Right.
some old, a god or goddess stories, which technically were not supposed to make me super religious, but to learn from those,
Uh,
how including our gods and goddesses went through so
yes.
many testings and experiences and stuff like that. So I would listen to the stories in the night. Next day morning, we were supposed to enact this as a drama
Hmm.
in our household. So each person got a character to play from the story that I heard from the previous night.
Right.
We all enacted and performed like it was art. So, like you mentioned, the creativity, the arts part
Yeah.
of it probably began a long, long time ago. So, I started off that young.
Mm.
Post which I was always a kid on the stage. So, at the age of 2, I performed a dance and was in the newspapers. Back then, we lived in a very small city called Davangere in
Hmm.
Karnataka.
Mm.
And my school, so I performed for the school, and a leading local newspaper back then called Prajavani had covered the entire event and
Right.
brought me up on the pages saying a 2-year-old kid did something spectacular. So
Mm.
I've always been on stage, and post that, my parents obviously put me to, like you already mentioned, classical dancing, which is Bharatnatyam. Most us South Indians, we come to that point where either we learn classical music or classical dance. I've learned both, but I love dancing. So I've continued with that. Schooling, as I already briefly mentioned, I hardly even remember half my school names
Mm.
or teachers or friends because it used to be sometimes once in 3 months, 4 months, or 6 months. I used to be in a different school.
Right.
Same grade, I've completed in 3 different syllabuses: state
Right.
board, central board, ICSE syllabus, God knows what not. My
Mm.
father has completely experimented everything on me, and I think I've turned out fine.
I think that's
Although I
what you are experimenting the universe now.
Yeah, I guess. So now when I have my own daughter, I can't think of what he's done to me
Sure.
because I would definitely not do that on her. But then, yes, so that's what has probably kept me going. I'm not scared of changes whatsoever.
Right.
Risk-taking, challenges, changes don't scare me because I've faced it right from the very beginning, from kindergarten as well.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's how it was. So that was more of my childhood to
Mm-hmm.
speak.
Mm.
Post which after 12th grade, I joined architectural engineering as my undergraduation.
Mm-hmm.
Changed three colleges in 3 months, was
Mm-hmm.
merit listed everywhere, but decided that was not my cup of tea.
Wow.
Did not want to follow the path that my family has. We come from a very educational background
Right.
where education is considered everything. Every single cousin of mine, brothers, sisters, everyone is an engineer. So for us in our family, engineering is like grade 10.
Yeah.
It's like a basic level. And I decided that that was not what I wanted to be. So I quit architectural engineering in 3 months, joined Bachelor of Business Administration, completed an MBA after that, did another master's in statistics, and then finally ended up with applied statistics. So all this came from there. Now, during my childhood, the thing that I've missed out on is in grade 8, I met my current husband. He proposed to me when I was 12 and a half years old.
Oh,
Uh,
that's a good one.
and we've been together since then. Of course, lots of ups and downs and, getting into it,
Challenges.
getting out of it, or whatever it might be. But yes, he's the man. He's
Mhm.
my husband still with me. So I've had lots of, like I said, experiences, challenges, opportunities, everything experienced very young in life.
So this is something very interesting for all the listeners that are listening is I want to point out here, people struggle, people fear of changing their path or changing their careers so often or so frequently, but you made those mind changes and the mindset has to be like that. But the fear, oh, if I don't complete this, then I will be judged or I will not be looked correctly and blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is already there. So 90% people either they do complete it, even though they don't like it, they keep completing it. They don't worry. But you being this, so how did you did this transition and what really went through at that time? Didn't you ever thought of that, oh, if I am doing changing one after the other, what would people think to me? Is there a sign of mindset that no, you got to be strong enough to take your own decisions and consider all the options until you feel peace in your inner that what you are doing is right for you or you are doing right for others, because normally people go into these courses because their parents tell us or their friends or their colleagues they push them into, and then so they are like they don't want to change. But what was it like for you? It's in these changes, how did your mindset get into that mode? Is it because of your what you have seen in the surroundings, circumstances, environmental, or is it just came naturally to you? Do not feel
Absolutely.
guilty. Hmm.
Like you rightly already have pointed out the answer, it is all in your mind.
Hmm.
Uh, we have to kind of program and tune in our mind the way we want. And that's what I've believed in. I have been looked up as a rebel, as a person, who
Sure.
hasn't followed the path,
Hmm.
who has less regard to others' advices. But of what I believe is that I do not give in to the social stigma. I do not worry about what others have to say
Right.
unless it's my own well-wishers and loved ones. And that my circle is way too small, a very small, limited circle where
Hmm.
I those people matter to me. And I would take their advices, but then finally I do what is best for me. And
Right.
I know that people who really love me will eventually understand why I did what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So those
Mm-hmm.
are the people whom either I give in to or I make them understand. The entire society, apart from that, I have never worried about. Because if I then started thinking about the 8 billion population across the globe, I'm sure each one would have their saying
Mm-hmm.
and their own way of interpreting things and judging me. So
Right.
I have never given into it. So, yes, so the mind, well put. because either your mind can say you can climb the Mount Everest, or
Yeah.
it could ask you to jump from a building and say, you can't do this, give
Mm.
out. Both these things happen in your mind. And
Sure.
I believe, yeah, so it's very, very important that
Very
we
well
don't
said.
let
Mm.
the mind rule you over,
The
so
mind
that's absolutely. So it's well tuned. I do analyze, I do listen to my mind giving me red signals, green signals, and all that. But eventually, I go by what is right for me.
mm.
So that's probably the reason why I've taken so many decisions, not just the schooling and the college and those changes. I
No,
mean,
no.
including Australia,
Mm.
going to Canada, coming back to India. We've been in India now since 2011. A
Mm.
lot of people, once they go there, they don't come back. Again, there's this whole
Exactly.
situation. Yeah,
I was coming
nothing,
to that. Yeah.
yes, nothing has panicked me. So, it's the mind tuning. And as long as I'm happy of what I'm doing, I really don't worry about other things.
So tell me something, Priya. This is a very good analysis of what I analyzing, and for all the listeners to understand, like, okay, moving from one location to another location, changing your decision from one to another, and altogether a multi drastic changes also in your life that you can change decisions. All these things sometimes they are looked up as, oh, that person is not stable, or that person is not going to do any achieve anything, and all of these things are put as a trademark, as a stigma onto it. And so people never try, and people never know what they can do and what they can't do. So for you, Priya, tell me what really you think that, after these all these real experiences, that be changing your mind from not just academy, not just creativity or fields that you have explored, but you have then went on and achieved. But prior to that, someone has to start. And to start, it's a big, bold decision. So, how did your mindset, at what point you said that, okay, I'm not going to listen is one thing, but fear is another thing. That what will happen if I do this, and what will happen or if I don't achieve what I want, or if I don't get what I want. All these things, did that bother so much to you, or you were like very much easy in your calm mind that, nah, I don't care whether I get it or I don't get it? What was your like mindset? Because I think this is very critical for most
Absolutely.
people.
I've been called impulsive. Like I said,
Okay.
that's the label I've always been called. They call me impulsive, like she doesn't think, she just
Hmm.
changes. For me, I believe in the process, not in the goal. Like they say in the Bhagavad
Yes.
Gita, it's karmanyavadhikaraste, ma
Uh,
phalesh kadachana. I'm a very strong believer of that. I really enjoy the process. What I do there is actually give my 2000% in whatever I'm doing, which
mhm.
interests me. Now, once
Right.
I've given my 2000%, not every time has it gone right just because I've given 2000%. Life isn't like that.
Correct.
Something goes wrong. It takes me 2 days to go to plan B.
Hmm.
Now, until plan A suffers, I don't even think about plan B. Unlike people who use backups and who are already thinking this might go wrong, that might go wrong.
Yeah.
My mentality is completely different. I do not think negative until that whole process has reached its destination and given up.
Right.
Post that, I've already learned from what's gone wrong with plan A. So the
Hmm.
plan B becomes much easier. It's obviously adapting from the experiences and mistakes made in plan A, external factor considerations, and all that. So for me, this process isn't as difficult as it looks to others. I
Hmm.
know when I speak about this and I talk to people saying this, they are actually traumatized by that whole idea. They're like, okay, you're putting in so many hours, so much effort. Doesn't it hurt you when it doesn't happen the way you want? Of course,
Correct.
I'm human. It does hurt. I
Hmm.
do take it to heart for a day maximum, and
Hmm.
that's all the morning is. Post day one of morning, second day, I'm already on my feet thinking about what's the solution, and it's up there. And with
Right.
all, I feel it's just the purity of the hard work, the purity with which I do that, God has always been by my side. I mean, I'm very, very happy. I've gone through some very hard issues and situations because of such tough decisions that I've always taken a path which nobody else has explored. So
Mm.
obviously, when I do it, I'm the one who's facing it. But I would definitely give all the credit to my family, the support system.
Mm.
Although my husband is very negative by thinking, he's the exact opposite of what I am. So
Mm.
it is very difficult for him to survive with a person like me because I'm always taking plunges. I
Yeah.
take a plunge and then I see what's happening. But yes, yeah, so my thing is that yes, I've had the support system. I do mourn, I do have that fear, but all that is completely outweighed by the
Right.
sincerity of the efforts. So once I'm sincere, I hate what if questions. So if
Mm.
I have something in mind, I would rather do it, check
Mm.
it, and see if that's something that is for me. I wouldn't just sit like, most people do, thinking about it every night. Maybe I should become self-employed. Maybe I should go here. That maybes, they don't have an end. It is
Yeah.
always a maybe, there is maybe in your mind. For me, if I believe in it completely, I would definitely try it. If it doesn't work, at least my what if question is answered. I don't care. And then I don't think about it again.
Yeah, but that's a good thing because I think the creative mind, our mind, as you said before, and what you enjoy is the process. You are not looking at the end goal or the end result, or the expectations are not there when you are starting something or creating something. And that's, I think, very powerful for all the listeners to understand because, as you said in the Bhagavad Gita, it is the process that you enjoy, not the ultimate goal or not where you are starting and how you are starting. That doesn't matter. Starting is matters, whether if you are starting or not. And I think that's one of the things that you have. And so I'm coming to that beautiful phrase that you mentioned on that. You have created so many things. So I see this, even getting a title is a creation of that title, that you wanted to go and create your own life journey or create your own opportunity, because not many people take that decision to go into the public. And this is like going for a title of any pageant or any Miss Universe title, where you are always judged by the people. And that's a powerful thing, to create that and to enjoy that process. What was it like for that process that you did? How did you really come out of this? Because I'm sure there will be lots of challenges with people's minds, people's throwing, those simple words or statements going on, and you hearing all that. It's really, words are words, but still, it's a human mind absorbs. Tell me that process. How did you literally became fearless? Because first thing, it's very fearful to enter into this kind of title or this kind of topic, but once you enter it, then it becomes, you have to make it become fearless. So how did you challenge yourself in this situation? Give me some sort of insights on this
Sure.
journey.
So, just to start with, when I was really young, me and my dad used to watch these Miss Femina. I mean, back then it wasn't Femina Miss India, but Miss
Yeah,
India and Miss Universe and Miss World.
yeah.
Uh, right from the very beginning, what caught my mind in these pageants was not the actual beauty and the glamour that comes with it. Although obviously that is also very attractive. I mean, it's a part and parcel of the beauty industry.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What used to capture my mind was the spontaneity with which the contestants spoke, the
Mm.
way they were able to answer the questions on the spot, no matter what it was, because it was given to them on the spot. So that was very, very attractive to me from the beginning. But I never ventured into any of these pageants back then because of my height. I'm 5 feet 4 inches,
Mhm.
nowhere close to, the beauty
The
measurement of
norms,
what.
the
Yes,
standard for the
yes.
norms. Okay.
Correct, correct.
Right.
Nowhere close to that. So that
Mm.
wasn't even in my mind. Later, falling back to after my pregnancy, I mean, I'm sure this is with most women,
Mm.
that we deprioritize ourselves, and, family and your kid becomes your world. You
Mm.
have now put yourself in the back burner, sometimes because the society wants, but most times it's all by yourself without even you understanding that, you are
What?
no longer valuing yourself. It's all in the baby. My daughter was 5.5, 6 years old, and I don't know where she got this from. A Facebook post had come with one of these pageants, and she had registered me online.
Wow.
That's how I got into this.
Wow.
So the next day, I get a call from the organizers, and this is post marriage, obviously. So it was a different pageant. I wouldn't want to name them because
No,
that's
no.
not the
Fair
from
enough.
where
Yeah.
I won it. So anyway, so I get a call and they say, you've been selected for audition. We need a close-up picture of yours and a full size picture. I'm like, what audition? They're
Mm.
like, you registered yourself online to this pageant. And I'm like, no, I haven't. And then my daughter comes in running. She's just 6 years old. She's like, Mom, I did it. I'm like, why? And then she goes, this was your dream. You always keep telling me how you and Ajja, that's what she calls her granddad, keep
Mm.
watching these things. And, I saw this and I wanted you to be a part of this. Now, since it was her call, I decided, okay, let me at least go to the audition. Nothing's going to happen. But just to keep her heart, I decided yes. But then I'm looking up for pictures. You wouldn't believe. I think yesterday, when you wanted pictures, I would probably have a million to pass
Mm.
on. That
Yeah.
particular day, I did not have a single latest close up picture or a picture of myself without my daughter or without my family.
You're
It
correct.
kind
Yeah.
of shook me up a bit. I'm like, oh my God, I don't have a single picture of me from the last 6, 7 years.
Mm.
Uh, like it was that bad. So that was a kind of a wake up call for me to start with. Then
Mm-hmm.
I got into the audition. I went to the pageant. I did not win the title, but they gave me a subtitle of Timeless Beauty.
Mm.
All this happened. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is that was when I realized pageants are not what people talk about. Of course, there's a lot of cliches associated to it. People talk about beauty being judged.
Mm.
What they judge, though, is the overall beauty, the personality. And you keep calling everyone soul. I've seen you do that. It's
Yeah.
exactly that. What is your persona in general? Your
Absolutely.
overall inner and outer personality, the soul, so to
Yes.
speak, is
Correct.
what they are checking. If that is beautiful, are you pure by heart? Are you pure? So when I started looking into it, of course, I was totally dragged into it. There was a lot of self-care that came along with it because now that I was into pageantry, I started to take care of my diet,
Yeah.
my skin, my routine. I started working on my communication skills, my walk, my talk, my everything.
Mm.
So the first change happened when I went to Australia because going from India, it was a big culture shock. And I
Absolutely.
had to adapt to all that. This was the second one, once my daughter put me to pageantry. And since then, I've always believed that just not pageantry, it could be any industry you're on. People
Mm.
can talk negative about it, people can talk positive about it. But what
Mm.
you need to do is take the positives out of it and stand up for what you stand for. So that is my journey towards the pageantry. Post that, once again, I had dropped the idea of getting into any other pageants. I said, I've tried it, I won the subtitle, I'm happy with it. But
Mm.
then turns out when COVID happened, one of the contestants of this previous
Sure.
pageantry called me and said, they're doing something called Quarantine Queen, which is
Mhm.
to be done at home. You're doing nothing. All of us are bored anyways. Let's just get into this. And I was like, no, I've had this experience. I really don't want to get into it. She's like, no, no, come along. So I got into that. There we had some amazing mentors. One
Mm.
of them was the coach. Her name is Karishma Chawla Chabria. She was an amazing coach. And then I got to meet these women from so many different places, all having their stories to share. So, just like
Mm.
this podcast, it opened up a world for me where it showed me how much of pain and suffering and
Correct.
all bad situations people have actually gone through. So, it's not just one person, there is everybody's been through a life
Every.
situation.
Yeah.
Until then, I thought I had gone through some miserable stuff. I mean, prior to all this. And
Mm.
then I heard about these very inspiring women talking to us. It was awesome. Then
Mm.
I followed my routine with a dietitian and nutritionist who came into the same pageantry, and they
Mm.
gave me some excellent diet plans. And post that, there has been no looking back. This I'm talking 2020, and now this is 2024. Although I took the diet plans only for 3 months,
Mm.
until today, when I eat, there is a wake-up call for me. Every single thing I do, it is all conscious choices. I could have a bowl of fruit or I could have an ice cream. My mind will automatically divert me to the fruit bowl, even if I'm craving for ice cream. Maybe I'll have a spoon of it, but I always think about the well-being of my body because then what I believe, Shailesh, is you have cars, you own vehicles, you
Yeah.
give them for servicing.
Yeah.
Our body, an average, let's say, body works for 70 odd years
Yeah.
continuously every single day, morning and night. Our breath is going on every microsecond without a stop. Who's taking care of that? If we don't, who will? There is no servicing as such. Spas are called luxurious. They've been tagged as, a thing for you to rest, to pamper yourself. No, that's not pampering, according to me. That is a necessity. If your body has to function right, you've got to take care of it as properly as possible because if you don't, nobody else will.
Absolutely.
So is
Absolutely.
my main take on the pageantry. So, all the good things about what this industry has to offer.
So basically, you had a very positive mind, whatever you did, and particularly when you are getting or entering into a public area. Like for example, you go into media, you go into journal, whatever in a public area. You need to have that positive focus and positive mind to even interact, to even have a shake hand, to even meet eye and talk. And this is something that challenges many humans face. They had talent, they have skills, but they don't have these extra extrovert person, we call it or we label it. But I think what more important at that point is your mind, which is should be positive.
Yes.
And I think that's a great what you have done, what you have achieved. But and also challenges that you have faced, and I'm sure you must have faced few things that you allowed your mind to say that no, that's okay. I'm not getting what I am at this point, but I'm still going to do it. And that's persuasion, that, continuing persistence is the key for you, or what exactly you think is the key as a experience, as your own experience. How would you put this? Like for people who are listening, they feel that I can't do it after a certain time and they give up, or after a certain moment they say, oh, I can achieve it, but I don't have resources, and they give up. Whatever excuses, they don't continue. And that's where I wanted to understand from you. Did you face these kind of challenges where you thought I should give up now, I had enough? Tell us
All
some.
Always. Let's start from, coming back to the societal norms. You're a married woman, you're going into a pageantry.
Oh
People are
yeah.
going to call you names. They're going to say she needs attention. She's probably desperate to get into these things, Why
Hmm.
does she need to do modeling at this age? Your
Yeah.
own family sometimes are doubting that, although not my immediate family. Then you have husbands who are wondering what's going on. All of
Mm.
a sudden, what is happening with my, the normal wife who's suddenly now becoming a model and getting into this industry and so on. But then coming back to the mind part, I believe that we are our biggest obstacle.
Uh-huh.
The biggest obstacle in this entire world is us ourselves.
Mm.
People could say 1,000 million things. It's
Mhm.
you who has to believe that what you're doing is right. And that's all it boils down to. So if that obstacle of surpassing your own boundaries are well taken care of, that's all it needs. Everything else falls into place. Like I said, there is superpower, there is an almighty. People might be atheists, they might believe in God or not, but there is definitely a superpower up.
Of course.
They are there to support you as long as you are ready to fight your own battles.
Mm.
If you are ready for it. And like I said, I've always believed in, yes, this might go wrong. I wouldn't think about it until it went wrong. But as long as I believed that it was the right action and I gave it my 2000%, I
Mm.
really don't worry about other stuff. There were a lot of obstacles. So, including a pageant was postponed thrice, four times because of COVID. It was supposed to happen in New Zealand, to be honest.
Mm.
Then
Oh,
they shifted
wow.
it. Yes, and then COVID happened, and New Zealand and
Yeah,
Australia closed their borders. They were
completely.
absolutely strict. Then
Yeah.
it followed to Durban. It was supposed to happen in Durban. Durban had lots of COVID cases. Then they said Dubai. It didn't happen in Dubai. Finally happened in Goa
Mm.
after 1.5, 2 years. Back then, it was a very anxious thing because I had to convince people for so long that I still want to be a part of this journey, because everybody kept saying, "Oh, come on, just give it up. How long will you wait for this? How long do you want to get
Do it.
into this?" Yeah,
Do it.
yeah. But then I had to persistently stand. But yeah, the good bit is I got enough time to work on myself. I polished myself better. I feel I met with lots of mentors, did much more than what people were asking me. So every time somebody said, don't do it, I have gone against and done double of it.
See, sometimes what happens is your biggest enemy are when I say enemy, I don't mean that way enemy. I mean your own kind of negativity is from your surroundings or from your own around people who you
Yes,
trust, people who you really want to have confidence, but they lose your confidence. Did you had this kind of, because you did this after your marriage, which is Mrs. for this title, obviously as a family, as a cultural differences or cultural baggage, people want some culture don't want you to go into this area, some culture do. Okay, for you, what was it like, and what would be your message to all the listeners that, at the end of the day, we all come from different backgrounds, different culture, different upbringing, everything, but what you want to achieve as an individual or what you want to do as an individual, it's a challenge with this hurdle itself. What would you say to all the listeners, and what would you do? How would you actually carry yourself to this process? Tell us something. This is very fascinating for
yes. So culturally, I come from a very traditional, cultural South Indian Brahmin family. So if I
me.
were to say that, you
Oh,
you do not even want to know how many no's there are.
oh,
Our entire upbringing and life goes on no, no, no. I have followed a lot of those no's. For example, I've never touched meat. I never had alcohol in my life. I hate lying. I wouldn't say I've never lied. Maybe slightly tweaked truths at times for situational changes,
yeah,
but I try never to lie, never hurt people, not being money minded. It is supposed to be always, take care of others and all that. So all that I have followed.
mm,
But then if they do talk about how women should behave or how a married woman should behave, or if they're tagging me under any particular brackets,
very
now
good.
that's something I always say no to. Don't put me under a tag.
Mm,
Don't call me stuff. Don't make me feel like it's a job responsibility that now I'm married or I'm in such a family that I cannot do these things. I
mm,
am not a designation. I am a real person. I am a real wife. I have feelings. I have my own interests, and I have a passion and a destination to reach. So if those are ever restricted by the tags the society says, I
mm.
am not ready to be in one of those. So that has what has pushed me.
Yeah.
Having said that, like coming back to that, the Brahmin cultural South Indian thing, mine was the first love marriage in the entire family. Like I
Mhm.
told you, my husband proposed to me when I was 12. Until then, we've never ever had any intercaste. I mean, it wasn't too different. He's not very different from the Brahmin family, but yes, definitely different than what we are. So,
Mhm.
starting from there, and I was married very young, 19 years I was married. I was engaged at the age of 18.
Wow.
So yeah, so if you have to
Wow.
take, yeah, so, so if I have to take it from there, that's when I put my foot down and said, this is what I want. And I would want to do it. Now, if I suffer because of it, it's my thing. I am going to suffer. I am going to take care of the repercussions my decisions have. No one else is going to tell me what I do. And then I'm going to, anyways, life is full of suffering. Anyways, life will test you. Anyways, those decisions are going to be hard. I would rather take it myself and pay for it rather than take it because someone else asked me to and then pay for their decisions. So that's
Right.
been my motto.
So there is a big no-go zone, which is I admire, which is I also follow, is I don't like labeling or
Hmm.
titles or creating, identity crisis. that you are identified by this thing and that thing, and that's really puts me off because that's really is not who you are because
Yes.
you haven't even explored yourself. So I understand that, and that's a beautiful way of looking at things. But this is fascinating. It gets more fascinating because at young age you get married. What a journey. And then you achieve all these things after marriage, and people say, oh, after marriage there is only one life or this life. And here you are, multicolored, multi-layered, multi-dimensional, I would say. So this is really fascinating. Now I'm
Yeah,
gonna.
just to add to it, Shailesh, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no. Go ahead, please.
Out of the 4 degrees I have, three were post-marriage. Only the
Wow,
first one was done. Yeah, I completed 3 degrees post-marriage.
wow.
And everything has happened post-marriage because my life started so young. I mean, my
Hmm.
marriage was so early.
I guess it's
Everything was
the
positive.
age factor. It's not the young or the mature. I guess what I'm really discovering here, and some of the listeners may agree with me, is like, sometimes you put off, this is not the right time, this is not the right date, this is not the right moment, all of these things we talk. But
Yes,
really speaking, here I am talking to Priya. For her, all of this doesn't matter. What you want to do, you can do it. What you have to do, you should do it. This is what I'm hearing, everything, and this is more positive for me. So
yes.
it's amazing.
Yeah,
So
it's just about how passionate you are about what you want to do. As long as that is there and you strongly believe that that's what you want,
yeah.
nothing else should matter.
So here is a question for you. I want to ask. We have touched your academics, we have touched your creativity, we have touched your achievements, but this is something very fascinating. Is you became an entrepreneur. I hear somewhere, and you were not just entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur. And that entrepreneur, that service or that work that you were doing has been like for students and to send abroad across. So you are like a mentor. You have been mentored, you talked about, you have been
Yes,
mentored by many areas and many people. But here you are mentoring some kids that you have
yes,
sent. So that's really powerful that you are putting everything. It's like your wisdom is been now embedded into other souls, and that
absolutely.
and that I love it, and that's why I wanted to talk about how did that idea became that I want to become an entrepreneur. You said before as well, like, money was not the criteria or has never been your focus when you do things. Otherwise you would have gone for a Mrs. Universe or any other pageant title only for money, only for contracts, only for fame, but you were
Yes.
not. And so this is something fascinating, that what really triggered you to become an entrepreneur after achieving all of this that you have. Still, you wanted to do more, and the hunger looks like very more. I don't think Priya is going to stop here. So tell me something about your entrepreneur
So,
skills.
yeah, so to add to that, I've always been risk taking. And as you know, I think for a entrepreneurship, so to speak, I think the risk taking ability is one of your very strong things that you need. Now, to start off, let me not even start with what I did with myself. My
Mhm.
dad was 50 and he had quit various jobs. Like I said, I've taken a lot from him, and he doesn't stay in a place which doesn't follow his principles or policies. He doesn't give up for monetary reasons. I've gone taken on him a lot. Now, at the age of 50, I remember sitting with my dad and we were applying to various job opportunities.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
because he was over 50, the
mhm.
opportunities that he was getting was not as he used to get before. I would see
True.
him break in front of me. He wouldn't show it to others, but because I was the one helping him out in preparing his resumes, post it out. Back then, it was more of posting, no emails and
Yes,
stuff.
true.
Anyway, so I made him open a business at the age of 50. And I said, you can do it. Because one of the places I went and studied my bachelor's in business administration was from something called Canadian School of Management. They were
Wow.
based out of Pune. We back then lived in Pune. And then
Mm,
they had these franchisee offers all over. So we came back from Pune to Bangalore. And I told my dad, you know what? You should start a franchisee here in Bangalore. And he's like, we come from a community of education. I've never, ever thought about business. I'm like, so what? You could start it now. Entire family was against me. They're like, she is a child, don't listen to her. I think I was 15, 16, somewhere around that age. And they're
Mm.
like, what are you listening to? I'm like, no, we should. We should definitely start this. And he started that off small, in a small manner. Of course, put his entire savings. He did his own pros and cons. It was not just, okay, my daughter's telling me, let me just go into it. He did his own calculations and whatnot. He always has a spreadsheet of what can be the worst scenario, and
Absolutely.
that's how my dad takes it ulta. Uh, Unlike me, who doesn't think about worst scenario until the worst happens. So my
Yeah.
father did those calculations. He opened in 2, 3 years. It was a flourishing business. I
Mm.
started teaching at a very young age in his organization. So I used to teach statistics and human resource management there. There used to be students of MBA. I was not a master's myself, but they would sit in my lecture and listen to statistics.
Mm.
So let me start that my business entrepreneurial skills come from there. I made my dad do something he didn't want to,
Mm.
but now he's very happy that he did that. So
Mm.
when we came back from Canada, 2011, that particular year was very, very hard on us. My brother had just got married. We had actually just come to attend his marriage, but decided never to go back. It
Mm.
was a sudden decision, and we decided, okay, let's stay back. We had so many options. Of course, big companies wanted to hire us because of the experience, the overseas experience, staying in Australia and all that. And I said, I don't want to do this.
Mm.
I really want to open up an overseas education consultancy where I can share my own experiences and give this out to futuristic students who are thinking on the same lines, what to do, what not to do, what are the opportunities, how do you do it, and things like that. So that's how we started our company. Initially we were taken as an Indian head office of UCC College Cork, Ireland.
Mm.
So they said, we love the way you are. You head over, you take over our office. So they paid for the expenses. That's how it started. So back then it was not risk taking. A
Mm.
year and a half later, we were to expand more and get into all countries. I specifically wanted more of Australia because having been lived in Australia, studied there, that was my forte. So we tied up with KC Overseas Nagpur,
Right.
which from, we are a franchisee office here in Bangalore. Since then, there's been no looking back. We've only had good references and all that. But like you rightly said, I haven't actually seen it as a business. For me, it is mentoring, it's consultation, it's
Exactly.
being with the kids and their parents when they need me the most. And that's what has taken us, to a successful venture. I think when you're doing the right thing,
Mm.
success, money comes all by itself. If
Yes.
you go behind chasing the money or success, that doesn't happen. But if you're doing things right,
Mm.
it happens eventually, anyways.
I agree. I cannot agree more than that. I mean, I am the same believer or same the seeker type of person who
Mhm.
wants to do things and not worry about what I'm going to achieve out of it or what I'm going to get out of it, but with a good intention, if you do anything, it
Yes.
really it really flourishes. So that's a beautiful end to this conversation. But I really would love to explore more and more, Priya, from your beautiful skills that you have gained, but also locations that you have traveled. Now, this is a interesting question I want to ask finally to you and to all the listeners to listen, to see who are listening. Changing locations, changing your career paths, changing your academic career paths, changing everything that you think is not may not resonate with you or may not give you what you want, but still embracing the changes that you have made all this time. And I think this is the change is the most inevitable thing that we experience as a human. And I want to know, Priya, as a human, when you see all and when you have made these changes, one is there are existential changes. We call it existence changes. Like, we can't do anything when the sun comes or the moon comes or the rain comes. We can't change that. It's just happening, right? But it happens, and we want everything at certain times. This is exactly right. I want to resonate with Priya's mind, Priya's soul, that I see it that you have made so many changes and yet you are keep doing that. What is your message to all the listeners who fear of changes? Because one is already changes we are experiencing in our environment and in our universe around us, also in our in self, in our body, we see changes.
Yeah.
And so mind also changes. So what will be your message to this? Because you are keep changing against all the odds of changes, you still keep changing. And that something is amazing, because sometimes people think, oh, changes means you can't do this, you can't achieve this. But no, for you and for me, what I'm hearing is you are achieving everything and anything with these changes. So, what is your final message to all the listeners? I'm really very much fascinated, Priya.
Yeah. So,
How would you?
some of those people who have already heard my previous interviews and talks would know this, but for all the other rest of the viewers, I know your viewers probably haven't. So,
Yeah.
I'll repeat a few things that I say about myself. First
Hmm.
of all, I live by the motto, I think I've given that to you as well. Nothing ventured,
Yeah.
nothing gained, nothing endures except change. I
Yeah.
believe that change is inevitable. So, unless you venture into it, unless you actually swim the shore, you can't really, talk about it. You wouldn't know what is the
What to
depth
discuss?
unless you actually explore. So I believe by that. I call
Mhm.
myself abnormally normal and standardly deviated. Being a statistician, they have something called this normal curve, and there is
Yeah.
one middle point which is called the average. And a lot of stuff falls right next to that normal curve.
Hmm.
Most people fall there. I'm an outlier. I fall out of what people would call normalcy. So I call myself standardly deviated. I have deviations as per the standards set by the society. I
Hmm.
do not believe in following something just because others are doing. I would follow it if it's something I would want to follow. As
Okay.
simple as that. So like I said, if I have to sum this up,
Yeah.
be abnormally normal. Do things which you really, really are passionate about.
Right.
There is absolutely no dead end in life. That is a complete thing that I stand in. Yeah, something doesn't work out. So what? It's
Hmm.
not the end of everything. You've tried, you've given your best. At least you've lived your life. You've done something that you are passionate about. Instead of dying every day doing things which you don't like, which is not of your interest just because somebody is doing, I live every moment. For me, every second, every minute is happiness. It's living life because I have done it as per my own rules.
Hmm.
So, like I said, that's my message to everyone. If you have to achieve something, and that's what if you've seen people, all these very strong women speak about, be it Priyanka Chopra or all these
Hmm.
big, you would hear the same words. Every single woman who has gone over and above the social norms, be it Sushmita Sen, who
Hmm.
adopted, when
Absolutely.
she was not even a
Yeah.
married woman, yeah,
Hmm.
all these people have done the same thing. If you believe in something, the only way it can be done is fighting your own obstacles. It's all in your mind, it's all within yourself. Once you deal with yourself, I think everything else is
I think
it's
very well said. Very well said, Priya. Abnormally normal to live and accept that abnormally normal, because we have got a perception, we all humans have got a perception that we are human, so we need to be like this, we need to be like that. But as you said rightly, abnormally, we all are abnormally normal. And we need to accept that. That's one thing. But with that end, I think end note, which is what to all the listeners, we had this beautiful, beautiful episode of a real connection with Priya. And Priya has given her final message, as she has very well said. Her motto in life is nothing ventured, nothing gained. Nothing endures except change. So, change is inevitable, we all know. But acceptance of change is the key for everything and anything that we all do. But what Priya has shown that, she is absolutely accepted and embraced the changes and she is making changes. So one is the universe make change, and I believe, and I now strongly feel that universe can make changes, but Priya also is making changes. So with that note, I thank you so much with bottom of my heart, Priya. Humble to
Thanks so
be.
much for having me and for this wonderful opportunity. Lovely talking to you, Shailesh.
Hope you liked our conversation. Hope you enjoyed
Absolutely.
this. But NZ World News is our main motto is to bring positive people, positive messages, and positive awareness. Through this channel, we have got different channels that we bring people from different parts of the world as a speakers. But today I had the pleasure and of inviting you and coming on my show, but giving this beautiful, amazing conversation that I had. I mean, I would love to invite you for other topics that I could more trigger and more uncover. So, with this note, final message from you to all my listeners. What would you say from NZ World News? What is your final message to all the listeners, Priya?
Final message would be live your life. It only comes once. You only die once, but you live every day. So just live it to the core.
Wow, very well. I'm so enjoying now this conversation. I don't want to stop it, but there we go. We are running out of time, so we will stop here. With that note, leave every single moment to all the listeners, and I also endorse that because we only die once, but then we live every single moment, and to make every single moment count is what we have to enjoy every single moment. So once again, with this note, thank you so much, Priya. We will definitely get in
Much
touch
for
with
having
you
me.
and come back to you with some more topics to all the listeners. And please, listeners, if you feel that you need some motivation, need some guidance, Priya is not far away. She is also a mentor. She has made many beautiful souls enjoy and discover their path. She could be one of your in endurance as well. So, with that, thank you so much, Priya. Bye for now, and we will keep in touch. All the listeners, take care.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.